This is CHSR 97.9 FM here in Fredericton, New Brunswick, Canada. This is Python's Paradise, your film and music show, and this is your host, Greg Gilbert, aka the Python Hyena. And folks, Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho changed the way I look at movies. After seeing a midnight screening of it, my first midnight screening actually in 1996, in the winter of 1996, and with the advertisement, come and see the film that scared your parents. And I've been lucky enough to have Terry Karuba, Alfred Hitchcock's granddaughter, come on the show in tribute to him. Well, folks, we're going to dive even further into Hitchcock's great masterpiece, Psycho, because we have the woman that doubled for Janet Leigh in the infamous shower scene. Yes, folks, welcome the lovely, the talented Marli Renfro Peterson. How do you do, Marli?
Hi, Greg. Nice talking with you.
Yes. I know, but just before we started recording, you was telling me that you took a trip down through all through Canada, and you've been through New Brunswick a couple of times. You would like to share that for us here on the air?
Well, we just enjoyed it, everything. Canada was so friendly. Mm-hmm. My husband found a beer there that he really liked.
Okay.
And it was Blue something. I can't remember the name of it, but we could only buy it here in the States and on the East Coast. But New Brunswick, we were... I can't remember where we stayed. I kept a journal back in those days of our travels. We traveled about 150,000 miles total, pulling our trailer. We had a boat, a 13-foot aluminum boat on top of our truck, and we just had a small camper shell behind over the bed of the truck, and in there we had 20 rods and reels. We were fishermen, so we could fish anywhere. Anywhere from little bitty streams with light tackle out to the ocean or surf fishing. Anyway, I'm getting off the subject.
Well, that's okay.
We stayed someplace, I can't remember where, but we stayed someplace in New Brunswick before taking off for Prince Edward Island. But, you know, we also experienced, we were in New Brunswick and went down to the beach at the Bay of Fundy.
Okay.
That's where the tides rise 30 to 50 feet, and that was exciting. It really was. And we took a boat ride. This was in Nova Scotia, mm-hmm. On a river, and so when high tide came in, it formed huge waves on the river, and the river flowed upstream, during that. That was a lot of fun. Just thoroughly enjoyed Canada. And the only way to see the Niagara Falls is from the Canadian side. It's just beautiful. And we took a Maid of the Mist boat ride to the bottom of the falls, and that was very exciting. It was just, I tell you, what a rush. It was so loud, and there was so much energy. I can't describe it, but I can still just feel truly the massive energy that it surrounds you. It's just wow.
Yeah, I can imagine. Yeah, I've lived in New Brunswick my whole life, and just had my first trip out in New Brunswick a couple of years ago when one of my guests invited me to Toronto for a horror film convention. And so, and I got kind of hooked on that. And I love Toronto, especially for the first time to a city that big. But New Brunswick is, of course, where I've pretty much born and raised, and all I knew was New Brunswick for pretty much 45 years, and here I am going on 47 here shortly, so.
Oh, no, so young.
Yeah. But, as I mentioned in the intro,
It's all relative.
Yeah.
Age is. It really is. It's all relative.
Yep. But as I was saying in the intro, Alfred Hitchcock's Psycho changed the way I look at films. And wow, you were involved in that shower scene, doubling for Janet Leigh, and wow, did you ever think all of these years later, like next year, Psycho is going to be, it's going to be 60 years old, and
Yeah, 60.
60 years old.
Year.
Did you ever think
at the time when it was filmed, no one working on it on the set or had anything to do with it really had any idea it would have the impact that it wound up having on life, on the film industry, and in our lives, just different aspects of our lives. I was in a movie recently. It premiered in 2016 at Sundance Film Festival, and really got rave reviews. It's a documentary, a full-length documentary, and it's the first time that a movie has ever been made that is based solely on one scene from another movie, and that scene is the shower scene of Psycho.
Mm-hmm.
And it's interviews, and it's amazing. They bring up so many aspects of just little bitty things that Hitchcock did, like have a certain painting and the significance of that painting and so on. The movie is called 7852,
mm-hmm.
and there are 78 frames in the shower scene itself, and there are 52 camera setups.
Wow.
For it. So 7852, if you have a chance to see that, I highly recommend it. I saw it 3 times up at Sundance, and each time I saw something new, and since then I've seen it a total of, I think, about 5 or 6 times, and I just never get tired of it. Each time oh my goodness, I didn't see that before. I didn't notice that before, but it should definitely be available to every school who has film classes.
Yes, absolutely.
It's so informative. And Alexander Philippe was the creator and director, and he did a fantastic job on it.
Wow. Yeah, I saw Psycho at a midnight screening in 1996, and it was the first time I'd seen a midnight screening, and at the time I didn't watch any old movies, and mm-hmm. when I saw that, it just really changed the way I looked at movies, and I since taken some film classes I did well in, and started reviewing movies, and Psycho had that kind of an impact on me. And through Hitchcock, I wanted to see more Hitchcock movies, so I would look at, Vertigo and Rear Window and discover Jimmy Stewart and want to see more of his movies. And I'd see To Catch a Thief and North by Northwest and want to see more Cary Grant and more of his movies. And, of course, I wanted to see more Grace Kelly. Who wouldn't?
Oh, she's so pretty. Oh, what a graceful, her name
mm-hmm.
defines her. She has so much grace.
Yeah. I'm very always envious of Jimmy Stewart in that scene where he's laying in the chair in Rear Window and the shadow comes over him, and it's Grace Kelly kissing him awake, and I'm like, man, what a way to wake up.
Yeah. Yeah, that was a good movie. His black and whites are really good. Stranger on a Train. Have you seen that?
Oh yeah, that scene where you see the kill happen from the point of view of the sunglasses on the ground.
Yeah,
that's fantastic. Yep.
Yes, yes. Mr. Hitchcock. Sometimes I just say Hitchcock or Hitch, but Mr. Hitchcock, just to give him his what he deserves. Anyway, he always said that the scariest thing is your imagination.
Okay.
And that is so true. And that's why he leaves so much to your imagination. Like the shower scene of Psycho, there's the filming. You don't see a knife at all anywhere near me. You just see, just little bitty bits of, all of this. The only time the knife touched me is when they put a red paint on it, and it was pressed against close to my belly button.
Yeah, I know the shot. Yep.
And then drawn out. Well, then during the filming, it shows it just, the image of it going into me. And at that time, I don't know if you know this, but the censors didn't. When I filmed it, this was in December of 1959, and the censors didn't allow belly buttons to be shown on film, and so all your Annette Funicello movies, the beach. Bikini movies, they all had to wear bikinis up over their belly buttons. But Hitchcock got my belly button is shown in the movie, and he got it through because the all of the quick shots, just zap, 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 and the music, it got past them. But they did have a time that they discussed and argued about was when Janet tears up her notes that she wrote. She added up all her expenses and everything, and she tore that up and she threw it in the toilet. And then there's a close-up of she flushes the toilet, and you could see the paper going down. And the censors, they said, well, we've never seen the toilet being flushed before. Should we allow that or not? And they went back and forth, but they finally allowed it. This was in 1959, so, it's, life was so different then.
Yeah, the stuff now, they get away with anything on the censors now.
Oh, on TV, geez.
Yep. No, it's funny because I always point this out. In 1971, A Clockwork Orange, Dirty Harry, and especially Straw Dogs, they were all banned in several countries. And yet, 30 years later, Tom Green comes out with Freddy Got Fingered, which I think should have been an X rating. It's got an R rating, and you don't hear it getting banned anywhere. You just kind of throw your hands up and like, what happened?
Yeah, yes. I agree. I agree. We had to, everybody involved with the film, just everybody who worked on the set and whatever, had to sign a disclosure stating that they wouldn't talk about the movie at all. So shortly after that, I'd say about a month after I did Psycho, it was sometime in February, so maybe 6 weeks. Playboy flew me to Chicago, where I shot I'm on the September cover of Playboy 1960. And I didn't mention to them that I was on, had anything to do with Psycho. In fact, at the time, my roommate, Lene, this was in June or July of 60. She said, oh, Psycho, let's go see it. And I thought, oh, how boring, because there were, on the sound stage, there were other sets there. They had various interiors of the mansion, the house up there on the hill.
Yep.
And so I saw quite a few being shot there. I saw Marty Balsam, in the stairs and all of that. And I thought, when she said, let's go see it, I thought, oh, how boring. I know, what it's about, basically. But anyway, I went to see it, and the shower scene scared me half to death. So here I was involved in it, but it scared me. And I work I have a booth at conventions. I've been at Comic-Con and WonderCon and Hollywood Show and quite a few. Anyway, it's amazing that people come up and they have to describe the impact that the shower scene had on them. Some of them still have a lock on their bathroom door when they take a shower. Some didn't take a shower for years afterwards, so they had to share it.
Well, I lock my door when I take a shower, but not because of Psycho. It's just I don't want people wandering in while I'm...
Yeah.
Yeah, that's, I prefer privacy when I'm showering, but has nothing to do with Psycho. But
Yes.
Yep. Don't want to open the shower door and then somebody's on the toilet. I'm like, no.
Oh, my goodness, no. Well, we honor our closed doors here in our house.
Yeah. Although when I go to the washroom, I hear my cat scratching at the door. It's like, come on, cat, you really don't want in here. I don't bug you when you're in the litter box.
Yeah.
But
you have your own litter box.
Yeah. But nonetheless, I love Psycho and I love Hitchcock, and I had his granddaughter Terry Karuba on back in 2016, and she gave a lot of insight about him. Did you ever meet Terry?
No, I didn't.
No.
I wasn't even aware of her name until you mentioned it at the beginning of this interview.
Yeah, he's got 3 granddaughters, and I managed to find her and had her on here, and that was wonderful, and
I bet.
Yep, I get to find...
I'd like to, if you could send that copy to me of that interview, I'd really like that.
Well, I'm going to tell you what, I connected with you. Actually, I even got your email. I'll send you a copy of it either way, either on Facebook or on email.
Oh, that'd be great. I appreciate it. Thanks.
Yeah, that's what I'll do because I got it up on YouTube, but that was a mighty fine interview to do, and it was a lot of fun.
Bet.
Yeah, it was a lot of fun. But yeah, and what was it like working with Hitchcock? Take us back there, because that was like 12 years before I was born when that film came out. So take us back at that day when, especially when you first met him, the impression he made.
All right. Well, at the time, I was a pinup model, and nothing like they do today. To me, it was an art.
Yeah.
Anyway, I was working with a photographer, Mario Casilli, back in the days when everybody had TV Guide. But if there was a photograph on the cover of TV Guide, it was usually Mario Casilli. Anyway, I was working with him, and he says, they're looking for somebody, a model over at Universal. So he gave me the phone number, so I called and made an appointment, and I met some man there. I don't remember him at all or who it was, but then he took me in to see Mr. Hitchcock, and so at the time I was a nudist. I had been a nudist for, I don't know, a year and a half, something like that. It was a family, basically. It was a family club, a lot of kids and stuff, and it was hard for a single person to get in, but I had friends who were members who spoke for me, my integrity, I guess you could say. Anyway, so I had to strip down for him. I was stripped down to my underpants, and so I went in, got dressed, and then we went into Janet Leigh's, and I had to do the same there because our bodies had to be alike, and they are or were. So because Janet would not do the same without a bathing suit, and Hitchcock says nobody takes a shower in a bathing suit. Plus, she wore in her scenes when she's in the shower, and I saw every scene that she did. I was there when she filmed every scene, and she wore a one-piece tan skin-colored bathing suit. And I've seen the shower scene so many times, and the camera does not go below more than, I'd say, 3 inches below her collarbone at all. So if you don't see her face, or actually her face, that's me. It's the back of my head, my body, my feet, my hand that grips the shower curtain. I'm the one that's pulled out of the shower curtain and rolled into it. Not out of the shower curtain, out of the bathtub, and rolled in it, and then carried out to the. Oh, when Tony pulled me out of the shower, and he got me all wrapped up in the shower curtain, and he reaches under me and picks me up, and he gets about 6 inches or so off the ground, and then drops me back down because I was dead weight, and I only weighed about 105 at that time, and but he didn't have it. He was using his back instead of his legs.
He should have got Mother to help him.
That was the only time they did more than one take on any of the things that I did. So then he got his legs under him and carried me. But the worst part was when he took me out to the trunk of the car. He just dumps me in. Well, they didn't have anything down on the floor of the trunk. It was just metal. And I didn't enjoy that jolt. I didn't say anything or anything like that. But working with him, anyway, so as I said, I was filming it. I just had sort of a bottom part on me. I called it a crotch patch, but anyway, just looking at it, and with makeup and everything, it just was all plain. So when I had my interview, they took us back to the sound stage, and I saw the set where they had the tub and everything like that. And so then when I show up and I have for makeup, that took several hours, and they gave me a wig, a gray wig that matched Janet's hairstyle, and so one of the makeup artists walked me to the sound stage, and I just had this light, like a seersucker cotton robe on with house slippers. And so he walked me over to the sound stage, and we get there, and there's red lights flashing, and it says no admittance and close that, I think, wow. So we opened the door, and off to the right are bleachers. So I'd say there's about 20, 25, mostly male up there. I just remember Brian Keith being there. I know there were other actors from the lot, but I think most were reporters and stuff. And one reporter, I can't remember his name, he really wrote up a nice article on me, telling how my demeanor really just calmed everybody. And actually, when I walked in there and I saw them, and I thought, oh God, they're expecting a stripper or something like that, with somebody to prance around, and that wasn't me at all. So I was very athletic at the time too. So I walked in, and I stood around, with my robe on, and finally Mr. Hitchcock says, okay, we're ready for you. And I thought, okay. So I took off my robe, and I just started stretching. That's the only thing I could think of to do that would be quote unquote sexy. But I know he had to have taught to everybody that worked on the set. There was no sniggering, nothing. There was no side remarks, nothing. It was all very, very professional.
Yeah. Yeah, Hitchcock was, to me, one of the greatest filmmakers ever.
Oh, my goodness.
Yeah.
I was a huge fan. Huge. I would have done it for free.
Yeah.
Just to be in his presence, really.
Yeah.
And about a year and a half or so after I worked on that, I worked with a young filmmaker who was, I'm back in Hollywood now, and I worked with a filmmaker on a movie, and I was thinking at that time that he just reminded me so much of Hitchcock and how he directed me and everything, and I thought, this young man is going someplace. I know he is, you know. Mm-hmm. And it turned out he really became very famous. Francis Ford Coppola.
Yep, we're going to talk about him momentarily. Yep.
On his very first film when he was still a student at UCLA.
Tonight She Comes, yep. Or Tonight for Sure, yep.
Yes.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Yes. Did you see that?
I have not, no, but I'm very familiar with Francis Ford Coppola, yep.
Let's see. I have... I've been with the movie, the 7852. IFC bought the film distribution rights for America, and so they flew me back to New York. That was about the time. Let's see, that was October, a couple of years in 16 actually, and they had Comic-Con going on then, so they had a booth there. So I was at their booth. But anyway, while in New York, I did a bunch of interviews, really a lot of interviews, Esquire and Time, and just, I don't know, I can't think of all of them. But one was CBS Sunday Morning, and he did, all of the interviews were just great. And so I imagine that Coppola saw one because last year somebody who works for him contacted. I have a biography, The Girl in Alfred Hitchcock's Shower.
Mm-hmm.
It's written by Robert Graysmith. He wrote Zodiac.
Okay.
Okay, he was a big fan of mine when I was modeling. Anyway, Coppola's worker, I can't think of what they call him, anyway, contacted Graysmith asking about information and contacting me. So eventually I spoke with Coppola via email back and forth. And my husband asked, he says, are you guys the same age or what? And I said, I don't know. So I went online and looked, and I'm a year and 4 days older than he is. I'm April 3rd, and he's April 7th.
Okay.
So I sent him a birthday card this year, and he sent me the nicest card back, just really, really nice. That's really sweet.
Yeah.
Anyway, I'm going off.
Oh, no, this is great.
Around.
Oh, don't worry, we're going to go back to Francis Ford. But nonetheless, what I was going to mention about the shower scene, of course, shot in black and white because Hitchcock said if it was color, it would be too gory. And, of course, we all know that it's chocolate syrup going down the drain.
Right.
Yep.
Uh-huh.
Do you,
watered down Hershey syrup.
Yeah, was you there for that process?
Oh, my goodness, yes.
Mm-hmm.
That's my feet going around, dribbling around, and there were two guys. I don't know what they did on the set. I don't know if they were grips or, whatever. But anyway, they had cans of the syrup, and they had to dribble it. And while the water's going on me, and they're right there, and I'm moving my feet around and going around in a circle and stuff. And this one fellow is just shaking. I mean, other than shaking, he is nervous. And I thought, I think this is the closest he's ever been to a naked lady without having sex. That's what went on in my mind.
Did you say anything to him?
Of course not.
Well, and of course, Janet Leigh. I was fortunate enough, before she had passed away, I got an autographed picture of her.
Oh, good.
Yeah. And of course, it's Jamie Lee Curtis, her daughter, of course, wanted to star in Halloween, which is interesting. Two great horror films. Janet Leigh had, of course, had done Touch of Evil, and then she would do Psycho. And Hitchcock, of course, was known from working with blondes. And Janet Leigh comes in, and of course, she's got this infinite shower scene. I know she had a hard time keeping still for that eye shot, which I thought was brilliant, going from the...
Oh, I saw that.
Yeah.
I saw her do that. You know what, when I saw that, but the one that really got me was when she's after being stabbed, and she's just gradually sliding down her back through the shower wall, and she's, going down, and her hair's going up, and she's staring straight ahead. But the water is going on at the time, and it's, it's sprinkling on her, but she is looking straight ahead. And I thought at the time, God, I don't think I could have done that. I think I would have blinked,
Yeah.
And so I really admired her on that. The other one, I didn't think anything. I just, saw it being shot.
Yeah. Well, what was your impression of Janet Leigh when you met her?
She was very cold to me, and that was the whole time. I didn't, when she interviewed me, she just looked me up and down and nodded and said, okay. And then when she was on set, she just basically ignored me. Vera Miles and John Gavin came on the set a few times, and they were so friendly and open and, and talkative and stuff. And at the time, Vera Miles wore a wig, but she had to, as she was bald. She worked on a film, it was Amazon Women or something like that, and they had to be shaved. The heads had to be shaved. So, but she was just so friendly. But that's it.
Janet Leigh?
That's all I'll say. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, that's unfortunate. What was your impressions of Anthony Perkins? I mean...
Oh, what a sweetheart. What a sweetheart. He was only there a couple of days. He flew in and out because he was in a play or rehearsing for a play or something in New York. So, but anyway, between takes, he and the wardrobe mistress and I would play word games.
Oh, yeah? Would you sit in there with the stuffed birds?
Pardon?
Would you sit in the parlor with the stuffed birds?
No. No, offset.
Yeah. You mean you didn't sit there with Mother?
No, she joined us a few times.
Yeah.
But it was a she. There was a lady, tall lady who fit Tony's physique. She doubled him on the knifing, I guess, the showering.
Yeah, I love that when the shower opens and you kind of see the eyes, but you don't see the face. And I think Hitchcock the lighting there was perfect.
It was. It was everything.
Yep.
Everything. On just right off the set, on the sound stage, but right off the set, Mr. Hitchcock had a tent, a black tent. I'd say it was like 12 by 15 or 10 by 12, something big. And, straight up maybe 4 or 5 feet and then angled up at the top, know. And inside was just one long table and 2 chairs. And between takes, he would be in there. He knew exactly every shot he wanted.
Okay.
He had when I'm sitting down in the shower
Mm-hmm.
in the bathtub, and he has me reaching out to grab the shower curtain.
Mm-hmm.
I have my ring finger on my right hand is disfigured. When I was 3 years old, we were living in Texas, out in the country, north of Dallas, little bitty town called Tioga.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, my brother, I'm 3 years old, so this is 1941. My brother is pushing the lawnmower, and so he's coming toward me. So I reach down to grab the front bar of it to help him, and in so doing, it cuts my finger at the just almost at the joint, the top joint, off. So it's just dangling by some skin there, and so it took about an hour to get to a doctor, and all he did was clean it up and put it together and soaked it in cod liver oil and wrapped it up with a split, and it all grew back. I have all my nerves and everything there. It's just calcified where the cut was. So anyway, I went back and forth. I thought, oh my God, they're going to do a close-up on my hand. Should I tell him or not? And you have no idea. All of these things going through my mind. Should I tell him? Or, well, if I don't tell him and it shows up and he doesn't, and he finds out that I didn't tell him, he's going to be mad at me. So I told him, I said, I have to tell you. And I told him, I showed him my hand, and I told him, what happened. And he says, that didn't happen like that. He says, you were picking your nose and you sneezed and blew the end of your finger off.
I don't want to get off topic here, but I can't stress how important it is for people to wear steel-toe work boots while mowing the grass with a hand mower, because I had a situation where I was going on a hill and the mower came back on me and it came right over my foot, and had I not, it took the top off the boot, and you could see the steel exposed. And I'm going to tell you, if it wasn't for the steel toe work boots, and I don't know how many times I see people barefoot or sneakers.
Yeah.
Wear steel toes.
That's the same with those edgers too.
Mm-hmm.
They whip around, and you should wear definitely.
Yep.
Yeah. Wow. You had a close call.
I had a close call, so I was very, very fortunate, and so that. Yeah, quite a story there. You mentioned, of course, John Gavin. We just lost him recently too.
I noticed that. Yes, I think Vera and I are the only ones left.
Yeah.
She lives down, as I understand, she lives down in the Palm Springs area.
Yeah, I heard she don't do interviews anymore either, so which is unfortunate.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm wondering if they're going to have anything regarding the 60th anniversary of Psycho, and if she's going to be contacted to have anything to do with it.
I don't know. I think they should definitely do something,
Yeah.
60 years and that film is still.
I know.
Yep.
Still.
I mean, I've attended.
It is. It's iconic. The film is. You mentioned Psycho, and just about everybody will say shower scene.
Mm-hmm.
Or you say shower scene, and they'll say Psycho.
And you mentioned Martin Balsam. You were there for his death scene. First off, what was he like to meet?
He was very nice. Mm-hmm. Very, very nice. Very warm. Very nice.
Mm-hmm.
I can say that about all three of the other actors who were in the movie.
Mm-hmm.
Just really nice, open and nice.
Yeah.
Throughout my life, I was about 6-7 years in show business, and I was a chorus dancer and an actress, and excuse me. and of course model. Yeah, I'm in over 50 magazines. I just modeled for about 2.5 years, and I'm in over 50 and on the cover of over 10. But this is all back in the day when it was you could show any of those of me on television.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely, Anyway, yeah, if I wouldn't be modeling today, not the way they do now. But I got off subject. I'm sorry.
Oh no. This is great.
I'm used to doing that.
Well, of course, Balsam played Detective Arbogast. And do you remember anything about the death scene? Because that was very oddly shot. Him going down the stairs and.
Oh, I didn't see that part.
That scene with the music and
him.
Yeah.
Oh. It's described. I saw recently where it was described,
mm-hmm.
and I'm trying to think, but it's just all camera work.
Yeah,
basically.
Well, I loved it when Mother comes around the corner there, and just the music, and it just happens all suddenly,
I know it, and oh yeah, that's Hitchcock. It's just pure Hitchcock. He is such a delight. He is just a delight. I am a huge fan of, what's his name? Bela Lugosi.
Oh, it's interesting you mentioned that.
I love him. In fact, I met his son.
I just had his son on the show.
Huh?
I just had his son on the show about a couple of weeks ago.
Did?
Yeah, did a tribute to Bela Lugosi.
Yeah, I know. I had a table at Monster Palooza a couple years ago,
mm-hmm.
and a friend of mine is a friend of his, so I definitely went and met him, and of course got a picture of a photo of Bela,
mm-hmm.
and he signed it for me, and also just those Lugosi and Boris Karloff and
mm-hmm.
and who's the other one?
Lon Chaney.
Lon Chaney, yes.
Yep.
Those three just dominated the film industry at that time, and those were scary movies. They were, and it was really fine acting.
Mm-hmm. No, I had him on in May. Yeah.
Pardon?
I had him on back in latter part of May.
Yes.
Yep.
Yeah. And he is such a nice man too.
Mm-hmm.
He's got a little twinkle in his eye.
Yeah. No, I do. I like I said, I did a tribute to Hitchcock with his granddaughter, and I did one on Bela Lugosi with his son, and so it's interesting you bring that up.
Well, just email me how I can watch or listen to that one too, please.
Yeah,
I'd enjoy that.
Yeah, that one's not up yet, but when it does get up, I'll certainly send it to you.
Okay, all right, I'd appreciate that.
Sure. What other times were you on? Like, what other scenes in Psycho did you witness getting filmed besides being part of the shower scene?
I saw the I don't know how I did, but I saw the car going down.
Yeah.
In the water. That was on the lot.
Mm-hmm.
I just in the they had the foyer, of the mansion.
Mm-hmm.
So I just saw going in there and looking around and stuff.
Mm-hmm.
That's all that comes to mind. I may have seen more,
mm-hmm.
but like you say,
I love it when
years ago.
I love it when the car is in the swamp and it's going down and it pauses. And he just looks around, and then it starts going down. And it's like,
Isn't that great?
yeah, that was fantastic. Yeah. You had mentioned being you were a showgirl. What was
I was a dancer. I was a chorus dancer. Well, I was a showgirl one night.
Okay.
I started out, I was a chorus dancer in Las Vegas at the El Rancho. And there were 6 of us dancers, actually as backdrop to the main dancer, Renee Molnar and her dancers. But anyway, at the time, there was only about 5, 6, or 7 casinos, or hotels on the Strip. It was a little town. This is in 56, 57 when I was there. I worked there for a year and a half. And everybody knew everybody there. Just little town. It was so much fun. And that's when stars would come, for a few weeks, would be there on, have their shows, for a few weeks. But anyway, I just, that nightlife, I'm a morning person. Like now I get up at 4 or 5 in the morning, something like that. Okay. And we had to be at the club until about 2 in the morning. And Friday and Saturday nights we worked until about 1:30, something like that, because they had the third show. We had 3 shows, Friday and Saturday night. Anyway, it got to me basically. So I left and went back to Hollywood, and then I thought, I think I'll go to New York. So I went to New York, and I stayed at the Barbizon Hotel for Women there for about 3 weeks, and then I found an apartment that I could stay at. So there were 3 of us girls there. And my first job was at Fiat Motors. That was their American headquarters, and I was a receptionist there. But anyhow, then while I was there, I auditioned at the Latin Quarter that was owned by Barbara Walters' father.
Okay.
So I got a job there primarily. First, another lady and I they had a lot of acts for every show, and this was big production. Big. We're in Vegas. It was just little things, So they had like 2. They might have a comedian and then the star. Us dancers and then the comedian and the star. That would be the show. Well, there they would have 3 or 4 or 5 maybe different performers. So she and I would come out before each act, and we had like a poem to say introducing it. So we did that for a while. Then they stopped that, and they had some girls leave the chorus line. So both of us got hired in to be chorus dancers. And I wasn't a trained dancer. I when I was very young, my mom enrolled me at Meglin Kitties. That was in L.A. But that was really only my training that I'd ever had. So, but I'm a quick learner. Anyway, I did fine. Whatever we had to do, I did. But this one time, a showgirl called in and couldn't come in, so they had me take her place. And I thought, I was 5'4", and there they had dancers that I'd say they had about 30 or 40 dancers, and half were shorter, and then half were the other half larger, taller. And I thought, why didn't they get a tall one to go, do the showgirl? But they didn't. Anyway, I had to put on her costume, and we had to walk down a curved staircase down to the dance floor, the floor. my heel caught. Thank goodness they had a railing that I could hold on. Grab that. So that was my thing. The only time I'd been a quote-unquote showgirl. Because showgirls just paraded around.
Mm-hmm.
That's all they did. They just paraded around and looked pretty. And then another time, the theme was like Kismet, of the Arabian Nights and all of this. And they had singers. They had two singers who sang a love song to each other. Take my hand, I'm a stranger in paradise, all this.
Mm-hmm.
Well, the female singer didn't show up, so they called on me to stand in for her. Of course, I didn't have to sing. They don't want me to. I'm not a singer at all.
Mm-hmm.
I wish I could, but I don't. Anyway, I had the hardest time not to break into giggles. I've never had anybody sing to me, and look at me lovingly singing. I really hadn't, and I know my chin was just, shaking, trying to keep it a laugh. And how the singer, carried on, I don't know, but he did.
You have mentioned, of course, Playboy, and of course we lost Hugh Hefner. I've interviewed a number of actresses who have posed for Playboy, and I was wondering if you talk about what was like being around Hugh Hefner and your impressions of him.
Well, as I say. This is probably late February or sometime in there. I lived in Hollywood, and Playboy flew me to Chicago to shoot the cover of the September 1960 issue.
Mm-hmm.
And this is the February 1960. And then also I shot two full pages of the August issue.
Okay.
And the photographer just mentioned something on this. The photographer was Don Bronstein.
Okay.
And really a fine photographer. And just 2 days ago, I get an Instagram from his daughter, one of his daughters, I guess his younger daughter, saying that he passed away when she was a year and a half old. And she was reading something where I had mentioned her dad, and she wanted to know, if I could provide anything, insight into him. So I wrote a nice, lengthy thing about, his talent and really a fine photographer.
Okay.
But anyway, while in Chicago, they were doing the finishing touches on the very first Playboy Club.
Mm-hmm.
Well, I met Hefner for the first time at my exit interview, and I asked him if I flew back to Hollywood and packed up and came back, if I could have a job at the club.
Mm-hmm.
And he said, sure. So I said, okay. So I did. I flew back to Hollywood, packed up, and moved to Chicago. And so I was there from early March until about mid-September, October, something like that, when I moved back to Hollywood. But I'll just continue with this. I worked. My first job was working at the door, and I would collect the members' keys and put them up on a board. Okay. Because you had to have a key to get in, and at the time, a regular drink at a bar, or was 35 cents.
Gee, that's changed.
$1.50. So
that's changed.
I enjoyed working there. But anyway, I had mentioned when I was before I got there, I had a real good friend down in Miami Beach, and I mentioned to him, that I got a job at the Playboy Club, and everything. And he says, you just watch it with Hefner. He's not for you. So that's all he said. So So I did. I followed his advice. At the time, there was I think it was a '56 Mercedes that had running boards and stuff, a convertible. Oh, I would have loved to have it, but I never could afford that at all.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, and he had Hefner had a Mercedes. So usually, any conversation, I kept it basically at Mercedes.
Mm-hmm. Do you have any of the?
I wasn't with that group.
Okay. Okay. No. It was just something I had to ask about because I've interviewed a lot of people and I've never heard of any complaints about Hefner on his person.
Yeah.
You know.
No, I had no complaints. We just have different lifestyles. That's all.
Yeah.
Basically.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. And I'm not a person to stand in judgment of another. Also.
No. No. I never judged him. You know, like.
Business-wise, he did great. My goodness, he revolutionized men's magazines,
mm-hmm.
and he was the stepping stone for so many authors. So many, just getting a start, and was able to start getting a name and a following, and just have a nice career later on.
Yep.
So he just, and with the Playboy Club, I was one of the original Playboy bunnies too.
Do you have any of the outfits still, like the ears? Or I know one actress.
We didn't we didn't.
Okay.
That was theirs. That was their property. It never entered my mind to take anything.
You've got an actress that has cufflinks. Though. Yeah.
Huh?
I interviewed an actress that still got the cufflinks to her outfit.
Oh,
yep.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, I have the cufflinks, but I bought them for my dad.
Okay.
Yeah, I also bought him a key, too.
Okay.
Back then.
Yep.
Anyway, it was, people ask, well, did the men, fondle, your outfit or anything like that? And no, men just were very, very not standoffish, but they didn't touch us at all.
Mm-hmm.
But the women did. Oh, they were always pulling the bunny tail or flipping your ears or something. Oh, anyway, I started to say, my first job was at the door, and I was on salary, but I saw that the other girls who were waitresses were really making the money. So I asked if I could be a waitress. And they said, "Had you had any experience?" And I said, "No." And they said, "No." So I quit. And I got a job at the Cloisters, which is a jazz club there, as a cocktail waitress. So I worked there, I don't know, a couple of weeks, something like that, and went back to Playboy and asked, if I could have a job as a waitress. And so I had experience, so I worked the noon shift.
Okay.
That was mine.
And we've touched about Francis Ford Coppola, about this film, Tonight for Sure. Now, This was his first film. I don't know this film until I was reading up information on you. Coppola, of course, was huge in the 70s when he made The Godfathers 1 and 2, The Conversation, and my favorite war film, Apocalypse Now. What an accomplished filmmaker he is, and of course,
what a talent!
Yeah.
And his daughter Sophia.
Yep.
Her.
Lost in Translation. Yep.
Last time I saw one of her films, Have a Murray Happy Christmas.
Okay.
With Bill Murray. Oh, if you haven't seen it, I highly recommend it. I saw it on Netflix. Oh, it is so good. It's a low-key humor.
Yeah, she did.
British humor. It's just low-key.
She did Lost in Translation with Bill Murray and The Bling Ring, which I think was underrated.
No, that's I think that's the only film I saw of hers.
Yeah. But I was
thinking of getting more from the library or something and seeing her work because she is so good. I'll tell you too, if anybody asks me what are my two favorite films, I'd have to name two,
Mm-hmm.
and one is the original Fantasia,
Okay.
and the other is the Black Stallion.
Okay.
And Coppola's dad did the music in that. I think Francis was the producer of that, but both of them I just love.
Okay. Well, talk about this film, Tonight for Sure,
Yes.
and your part in that.
Hmm. Well, that's actually two films together.
Okay.
One, I can't remember if I did that first or second, but one was shot in Searchlight, Nevada, and the premise is a cowboy. It's shot in sort of Western days, sort of. Anyway, he's riding on his horse or his donkey, and it shies. He falls off, hits his head, and then after that, every once in a while, he'd get a crick in his neck, and if there were any women nearby, they didn't have tops on.
Okay.
So that was that. So it shows him gambling, and everything is fine, and I'm dealing to him, and he has a crick in his neck, and all of a sudden he sees me there. I don't have a top on. So that's basically it.
Okay.
Then the other part was with Francis. Didn't have anything to do with that one.
Okay.
There were, I'd say, about six of us girls in that film. Then the next one was with Francis, and I shot that in Hollywood, and I'm almost positive that was Santa Monica Boulevard, someplace. And it's about a voyeur, a man who secretly watches women.
Okay.
And then he watches them. He makes sure that he gets a room so he could see into a photographer's studio and watch him undress and stuff like that.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what I worked on. Then when they combined the two movies, they showed both of them, but he and I think one of the guys in the other movie get together and they want to stamp out immorality, and so they go to a strip club and want to, and see how bad that is and stuff like that. So that's how they tie in the two movies.
Okay. It's interesting you bring that up because, speaking of voyeurism, Psycho, of course, came out the same year as Peeping Tom. Peeping Tom was a huge controversy, I understand. And Psycho, of course...
I don't remember it. I don't even know if I know I didn't see it. I don't think so.
Yeah, and then Psycho came out. Yeah. So it must have been interesting because this was when the... I guess when the production code was going on, the Catholic Legion of Decency, which I heard was a lot of trouble at that time. Mm-hmm. And so it's interesting that those two films even got made because that was back in a time where stuff like that was a little taboo. Oh,
it was called risque.
Risque.
Really. The first movie that came out that was risque was Not Tonight, Henry. And it was one of the actors in there was one of the comedians who had a show at the Silver Slipper in Vegas.
Mm-hmm.
But anyway, that was the first film, and I'm trying to think of the band's name who did that. I mean, who produced it, and filmed it.
And let's not forget Reefer Madness.
Out of my mind. Pardon?
Let's not forget Reefer Madness and Glen or Glenda and films like that really pushed the envelope at that time as well.
I didn't see that. I don't even recognize those at all.
Yeah.
I'll tell you what I saw recently that I just thoroughly enjoyed. It was 3 hours, but it was a documentary on the making of Gone with the Wind.
Okay.
And that was made. It came out the year I was born, but the special effects, just, oh my goodness! I left my mouth open. Really watching, it was so, because you didn't have computers then at all, and it was just all truly imagination. I mean, on another level, completely different level. Oh, it was thoroughly enjoyable.
So you were born in 1939? 1938. 1938, that was when Bringing Up Baby came out. That was a funny film. 1939 was when Gone with the Wind came out, and that's also the year The Wizard of Oz and Mr. Smith Goes to Washington. A lot of great films come out that year. Yep. So, yeah, that's going to be celebrating the anniversary next year as well.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I have a dear friend, Brian. Geez, no, I can't think of his name, and I know him too. Anyway, he is one of the actors who portrays Tony Perkins on the Universal lot of the Bates Motel.
Okay.
There's about 9 actors who do that, and he's one of them. God, I can't think of his last name. You know what? I've always been that way. I mean, my whole life I've had a problem remembering names.
Just don't forget your own.
I have an excuse. It's called age.
Did you ever meet Bernard Herrmann, who did the score for Psycho? Because that was quite...
No, not that I know of.
Yeah.
Not that, there could have been so many people. Like, Hitchcock's wife, she could have been on the set. I wouldn't have known. There were very few people who didn't belong there on the set, that came to the set. Mm-hmm. I don't know what Saul Bass looks like, if he came and was there.
Yeah.
Did you know that I was, some people thought I was dead?
Yeah, I read that on Wikipedia, yeah. Talk about that.
Yeah. Well, this is in 2001. My husband and I are vacationing up in Big Bear Lake, in California. And we're watching television, and we see a show called I've Got a Secret. And it's it's on the Oxygen channel. It's a new one, it's just and they at the end they said, if you got a secret, call this number. Well, I didn't have a pencil and paper ready, but a few days later I did, and it came on. So I wrote down the number, and I called, and of course you get an answering machine, and I said, I'm not famous, but I did something famous. I was Janet Leigh's acting double in the shower scene of Psycho, and I gave my phone number. Well, they called back, and after, several back and forth phone calls and stuff, we arranged that come down, and they'll shoot it. And I also mentioned that I was on the cover of Playboy, and they said, oh, bring it. We'll put it on the coffee table in front of where we sit.
Okay.
So I did. And so my husband and my daughter Erin and I went down to Hollywood to tape the show. And they say, oh, wait a minute, we got to call Playboy to get their permission that we can have it there. And so the lady goes off, and she comes back a little while later, and she says, that's weird. She says, I called and asked, and the guy said, no, you can't do it. And he says, besides, she's dead. And we all looked at each other, and I said, I'm not dead. That's all I knew. And I thought, how weird. And it wasn't until I read Grace Smith's book, my biography, that Myra Davis, she posed for Saul Bass, who did the storyboard for the shower scene.
Okay.
She was the actress who did the pose for him. So, but they had it down that she was Janet Leigh's double. And handyman worker or something killed her.
Okay.
Well, I don't know why. Anyway, he was convicted. But my biography, I'm in every other chapter, and the other chapters are about a serial killer who lived in Hollywood, who had a fetish like with the movie Psycho, but his targets were older women, and he killed his aunt and I don't know how many other women, but he lived about within a mile of where my parents lived in Hollywood.
Oh, wow.
At that time, yeah. Wow is right.
Yeah, it's funny you mentioned that because I remember a story with the wrestler Paul Mr. Wonderful Orndorff. Was apparent. This is something I read where he was reading the paper one morning and he found his name in the obituaries. It was like news to him.
Yeah, who did that? Mark Twain.
Yeah.
Yes. Yeah, notices of my death are a little premature or something like that. Cute.
Yeah. So it's happened before.
With good sense of humor. Pardon?
I've seen that kind of stuff before, and
yes.
Yep. But yeah, that's interesting. And you mentioned you have children. What do they think of your legacy, especially in this film?
They think it's great.
Mm-hmm.
They do. My parents did too.
Yep.
My parents supported me. In fact, when I auditioned to go to Vegas as a dancer, I took my parents with me for my interview with the producer of the show. Because I had just turned 18. I graduated from high school. I was 17 when I graduated. And it wasn't due to excellent grades or anything. I just, my mom didn't put me through kindergarten, so I just went straight into first grade.
Okay.
So I was a year behind all my classmates. I mean, in age.
Yeah.
Yeah, everybody else was 18 and I was 17 in my, at that time.
I don't know whether you saw the Gus Van Sant remake to Psycho. I personally hated it. I don't think it was.
No, I haven't seen any. I haven't seen any of the other Psycho 1, Psycho 2, or any of the others. To me, how can you improve on it? And why? Would you even? I think it's just strictly for money. That they do it.
I hated the remake.
And also there's Stephen Rebello. He wrote the book Alfred Hitchcock and the Making of Psycho, and they made a movie out of it, which premiered 2, 3, 4 years ago.
Okay.
I'm trying to think of the actor's name who played.
Toby Jones.
No.
Did he play Hitchcock?
He played Hitchcock. Isn't that awful?
Yeah.
Anyway, in his book, I mentioned quite a few times. In the movie, no, they still have Janet doing the complete shower scene. No double at all. Just like Janet, I got really unhappy with her. Because she's a star, and I was in Phoenix in '85 and went to the library, and I noticed in new books out that her biography, and I thought, ooh, so I looked at the index and I found a Psycho shower scene, and looking there, and she goes on and on and on about trying to find pasties and how does she do that and all of that, and all this turmoil. And I thought, you are so famous, why are you lying, And and I thought, well, if you're lying about that, what else are you lying about?
Oh, wow.
Yeah.
That's unfortunate.
And it wasn't until just, I think, a year or two before she died, she finally said that, no, she didn't do it, that I did it.
Wow.
Yeah.
And
So,
I don't get it too, because I mean she's involved enough in that shower scene, like the
yeah,
facial shots. I don't think there's anything to be ashamed of there. So it's not like she
no.
wasn't there, you know.
Oh, no, because it's so famous.
Yeah,
That's why.
because I mean that's
She took the credit for
yeah.
doing the whole thing. Oh, and I saw an interview about, how she's been over and blah, 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 and all of this. And I think, oh, my God.
Oh, that's unfortunate.
Anyway, no, I don't. I'm probably not going to say any more on the subject.
That's okay. That's okay. You know, I like what Janet Leigh did in the movie, you know, but yeah, like that was your only part in the movie, was doubling for her in the shower scene, right?
Yeah.
Yeah, you definitely don't want to be left out. I get it.
I was hired for 3 days, and I worked a week. So they expanded my part in there. One time, I'm sitting down in the tub, and this is when I'm having to reach out and grab the shower curtain.
Okay.
So Hitchcock, he comes over, and and I have my arm out, and he comes over with a measuring tape and puts it on my left breast and takes it back to the camera lens.
Okay.
Just nonchalantly does that, just like it's every day doing that. But and you look at it, and you could just vaguely just see an outline of my breast there.
Okay.
That's what he wanted to show.
Yep. Well, yeah, I get it. You know, I understand Janet. She definitely had a great part in the film, but yeah, I understand you don't want to be left out either. If I was in your position, I'd probably be a little outraged as well.
Yeah. Well, you know, it's just someone mentioned to me recently, because I've had I have just so many interviews like this, and just I guess sort of notoriety. I don't know how to say it, you know, because I was in incognito, you would say, for 50 years.
Yep.
Up until Robert's book came out. He's the one who got me into getting tables at conventions and stuff. And anyway, someone mentioned, it's a shame, you know, you didn't have it at the time. That nobody knew at the time. And I happened to think, and I said, no. I said, then I would have just taken it as it's due, you know, just everyday thing. Now it's just brightened my life so much. It really has. It's just put such a smile on my face. It is. You know, just the people who come up, and I've made so many good acquaintances plus friends from all of this publicity, and I have thoroughly enjoyed it. My daughter, both my daughter and husband help me when I have tables at conventions. So they are part of it too. I have now. This company is wanting to send me to Knoxville, Tennessee, to the Comic-Con there in July. So I don't know about that. So still making up my mind if I want to go there or not.
Well, I'd like to see them get you to Horrorama in Toronto. I've been to that one a couple times. I love that.
Oh, you know, I really enjoyed doing Monster Palooza. I worked WonderCon I had a table at WonderCon for about, 6-7 years. And I did well there. Actually, basically, I just made expenses, and that was about it. But because most of the fans at the attendees are there for comics and, you know, high tech and all the Marvel and all of this. And some will see me in the program and come to see me personally. They'll bring my book or any magazines that they have, or just come to say hi. And some definitely stop and say hi every year that they show up. Have got to stop and say hi, and I've seen their kids grow, stuff like that. But working Monster Palooza, that's all film people. Fans of film, and so it was completely different. So money-wise, I really did well there.
Here's a question.
Not huge, but I did make a profit.
Well, here's a question I always ask my guests that do the conventions. What's the most unique thing you've ever been asked to sign?
Oh, well, a fan, I have it here, I haven't done it yet, sent me a shower curtain along with some red paint to put my handprints on it, and I'm still trying to figure out how to do it.
Okay.
So I don't get paint on everything here.
That's actually pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, I always ask them that question. I hear a lot about people like getting their people to sign areas on their body and getting it the signature tattooed on them.
Oh, wow.
I hear that a lot. Yeah.
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 I haven't had that yet.
No.
I had, when I was at the very first WonderCon that I went to, it was up in San Francisco. My husband and I went up to it, and I've never done a convention or anything, and all I had, this is before my book came out, but Robert told me, he said, go to that, go there. So I had 2 photographs that I had just from when I very first started modeling my career, and they were professionally done, portraits. I had 2 portraits, and that's all I had. And one fellow who came, he took the photograph. Oh, I know, it was a picture. He made a picture of my the frame from the movie where my belly button and the knife, and he brought back, and it shows that, but it has Psycho on it and who the cast members are and all of that, and so I have used that for years. And then another fellow who, in fact, I just talked to him the other day, and he was explaining how he and I met. Was that I knew we met there, and that he also took one of my pictures and made a poster out of it, and he said he was with a friend, and they walked by, and he says, "Wait a minute," he says, "I think." He says, so anyway, they stopped at my table and found out I was, the body double in Psycho, and so that's and he, in the years since, he's taken almost every frame where it's really good, shows me or my body at all, has made them into posters, and I have about 15 or 16 of the ones that he's done. Really nice. There's a picture of Tony holding me just at the trunk. Tony pulling me out of the shower curtain, or me laying down on the my head on the floor and my arms stretched out and blood coming down the bathtub and stuff. Just overhead shots of blocking the knife or trying, just really. Actually, those 2 guys really filled up my my repertoire. Besides my book, I sell my book, and
where can people get your book now? Now we're on that subject.
eBay.
And what's your book called?
The Girl in Alfred Hitchcock Shower.
Okay.
Yeah, you can get it for $3, $4, $5 if you don't mind a used book. But most of them are, you can find one in real good condition. You probably get a new one on Amazon.
Okay.
And I sell them. at my conventions I sell them.
Okay. You get a web page?
No.
Okay.
I'm not that computer literate. I should have one.
Do you have any charities that you are involved with?
How about I support?
Sure.
Okay.
Mm-hmm.
There's a women's shelter, local shelter. I support that.
Okay.
I support the NRA.
Sure.
Our local animal shelters. In fact, I just got through crocheting a heavy throw for a dog to lay on for a shelter, our local shelter.
Yes.
And Paws.
Yes.
I crochet baby blankets for the local hospital, and then also the Marine Base Hospital.
Mm-hmm.
I lap robes for continuing care for people in wheelchairs. For VA Hospital down at Loma Linda, I do lap robes and caps, hats, and stuff like that. I guess that's.
Well, I always like giving my guests a chance to plug any charities that are involved with, so that, yeah. And one more psycho question. I don't know, you might not have been there, but were you there for the making of and revealing of Mrs. Bates that you see at the end of the film?
No.
No, okay. Yeah.
If I was, I don't remember it.
Yeah, I think she'd seen better days.
Yeah. I may have seen that, the corpse and all of that. I more than likely did see it, just as part of, I'm a blasé type person, I guess, how do I put this? I don't put anybody on a pedestal.
Okay.
Or anything on a pedestal, or any event really on a pedestal. So, it isn't that I take things with a grain of salt. It's just everyday occurrences, type thing. I don't know how to explain it.
Well, I love that final shot there where it just shows when Norman Bates goes, she wouldn't even hurt a fly. And you see
such a good job at the end.
Oh, yeah.
He's sitting in that chair. Oh, my. That is, to me, that's one of the most frightening parts of the movie. I mean, the shower scene definitely is, but just his expressions. He nails it. He really.
And his face turns into a little bit of a grin, and you can see it fade to the skull face or whatever,
Yes.
And
yes.
And a lot of people don't realize this, but the guard at the door when they go in there is Ted Knight, who went on to do Caddyshack and the Mary Tyler Moore Show.
Yeah. Oh, and then an all Mary Tyler Moore thing.
Yeah, that's Ted Knight at the door there, opens the door there for the jailer.
I'll be darned. I don't remember noticing that.
I don't know where I found that out at, but
yeah,
little tidbit right there.
Next time I see it, I'll have to notice that. I'll remember this conversation.
Did you ever see Mel Brooks' parody, High Anxiety, that he dedicated to Hitchcock?
Oh, I'm a huge Mel Brooks fan.
Yeah.
Fan. Huge. We had a good friend, my first husband, we had a good friend who worked at Capitol Records. And Mel and Ryan. Oh, no. Who's a guy that... anyway, when they did the 2000... Have you ever heard that? The 2,000-Year-Old Man?
No, I don't think so.
Oh, get that. It was a record.
Oh, okay.
Oh, it was so funny. God, I can't think of his name. This is just awful. He played. He was on the Dick Van Dyke Show. He was his boss.
Okay.
Comedian. He's a comedian. No, he wasn't. It wasn't. That isn't the one. Anyway, he is interviewing Mel, and Mel is a 2,000-year-old man.
Okay.
And it is so funny. It is so funny. Because he I don't know how he comes back to life, or I don't remember how that all of a sudden here he is 2,000 years old. And like one of the questions, during your life, did you know Cleopatra? And he says, know her, dummy. I went with her. And do you have any kids? I have thousands of kids, and not one comes to visit me.
What do you think his take of the shower scene in High Anxiety, where the guy comes in with the newspaper?
Funny, yeah.
And he says, that guy is not getting a tip.
Yeah.
Yeah.
He's a talent. Just wonderful. I love his sense of humor.
I love Young Frankenstein.
When he married Anne Bancroft.
Of all people.
Oh my goodness, they're so opposite. But they weren't. They were just perfect for each other.
Yeah, I love Young Frankenstein. That's my go-to Mel Brooks movie.
Oh, yes. Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
Well, one of the, on Oxygen, when I did Oxygen, one of the panel was Terry Garr.
Yeah. Yep, Terry Garr was a classic.
Talent I admire.
Yeah, she did, especially in that period, she'd done a lot of notable films.
She did.
Yeah.
She did. Yeah, great comedian. And serious, too.
Absolutely.
You know, comedy is a lot harder than serious, I think.
Yeah, the Academy Awards don't seem to like to acknowledge that, do they?
No, they don't.
Nope.
Or musicals,
Or musicals.
Well, every once in a while they'll have I think they'll do a token musical. I don't watch it anymore. It's just too political for me.
Yeah, same here.
Oh, I used to watch it. Really, I used to watch it because they'd have their gowns. Really, that's what I watched it for. Or, what was the other? I can't think.
Yeah.
Oh, just the MC usually. A good.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, but now it's just ranting and raving.
Yep, I agree. Well, you know what? It was wonderful having you come on here today, and celebrate.
I thoroughly enjoyed it, Greg. I really have.
I did too, and I will send you the link when it comes out. Do you mind?
Oh, great.
Do you mind if I add you on Facebook?
Not at all.
Okay, I'll send you a friend's request, and when this is ready,
Oh, wonderful.
Yeah, because and when this comes out, I can definitely send you the link. I don't know how to send MP3s, but when it's the YouTube link
I don't know anything about MP3s. So.
Yeah, that's what they're going to be done up on. But when I get the YouTube link, I definitely can send that out to you. I'm like you. I'm not very tech. My brother takes care of all that.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, handles.
Well, I was talking with a fellow the other day. How we got on the subject of Ayn Rand, I don't know. But we started talking about Atlas Shrugged, and I read that in early to mid 60s, and he was talking about it. And I really couldn't remember that much about it, but he said he listened to it on audio disc. And I used to call him book on tape, but it's audio, audio books.
Yeah.
So I went on eBay and I bought the 50 disc in it. And I thought, oh my God, how am I going to listen to that? And we have a treadmill.
Mm-hmm.
And so I thought, my heart doctor wants me to walk. So I thought, I'll just put that on there and listen to it, every half hour or an hour, whatever I build myself up to on the thing.
Mm-hmm.
But what made me start on that?
Mm-hmm.
Oh, yeah, because some looking at it on eBay, some were MP3. And I asked my daughter, about that, and she says, no, you don't have anything for that. So I don't know really what MP3 is, but I know it's different. In fact, I bought a book that was MP3, and I had to return it because I couldn't do it. I got it, and it just a little bitty disc, and I thought, what do I do with that? So I found out now when I see MP3, I know to stay away from it.
Well, you know what? When the YouTube link is ready, I'll send that to you because that should be easy for you to access.
Okay, good.
Yeah. Well, all you have to do is go on YouTube on the computer and you just find my page. I'll send you the link, so it'll just take you right directly to it.
Okay.
So, yeah.
Good.
That
good.
should work.
Thanks.
So yeah.
Okay. Well, now, what you're going to be doing then? Are you going to be editing this?
I'm going to edit some places. I'm going to edit. Yep.
Yeah.
Yep. Like where there's a few places where I can edit. I don't edit a whole lot because I want it to sound as naturally as it can sound.
Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
But any place where there's some stalling or whatever, I try to do an edit. So you sounded really good in this interview, though. So I don't think there's a whole lot I'd have to do. So
yeah, I wondered because I'm always going off on.
Oh, don't worry about that because it's been fascinating.
Yeah.
There's none of that I would even edit.
Started too, but everything. Somebody asks a question, and everything has a story. To me, it does. It's hard for me to say yes or no, regarding something. Oh, I was in another movie just recently. It's still, it's not finished yet. Its working title is Body Parts.
Okay.
And it's a documentary, all interviews of people who have been body doubles.
Oh, wow.
One sort or another, hands, feet, bodies or whatever. Real interesting. Very, very. It's two women. I actually know it was all women who were working on. We shot it at, when I was taping it, was at UCLA.
Okay.
I went to UCLA. I went to back when I was in Hollywood, when I was modeling. I went to their film school, documentary film school.
Yep.
Yeah.
Wow.
Thoroughly enjoyed that.
So body body double. That's what body parts.
Body parts is the working title, but it's all on body parts.
Oh wow.
And people, it's actresses, directors, type stuff.
Okay.
That they're interviewing. It just interesting. And, she was I can't remember what they were. She asked me a couple of questions, and I had never been asked before, because usually the questions are pretty stock. There's not too many questions that would be new, really. I mean, it's such a small subject.
Yeah.
The shower scene. It made me think of because I had trouble with the I called it the crotch patch, and they had glue that just held it in place up between my butt, and sometimes all that warm water and everything would be hanging down between my legs, and I have to put it back up. And I told Hitch sometimes, I said, why don't we just take it off? And he said, no. No. So, okay. And I happened to think, and made me think that it was akin to wearing a bikini bottom. or a
Okay.
pair of underwear, that I was sort of dressed, you know?
Mm-hmm.
That type of thing, that type of mentality, that's okay. Okay,
Yep.
just to have your bottom on, but, it's okay not to, have anything on your top. It's different. It's different, and it relaxes them. I think it. I don't know. It just puts a whole new twist on things, and that's what her question brought that to my mind. Of
Yep.
psychologically.
Yep. No, going back to before, I wouldn't worry about you going off track on subjects because you always spoke about something interesting. So to me, I wouldn't do any editing there. There's nothing you
Okay.
Yeah, you were great. So don't worry about that.
Okay.
Yeah.
I know I ramble on. Well, what I did when I was in New York, when IFC sent me there. Oh, I stayed at the most wonderful hotel called the Marlton Hotel.
Okay.
Oh, it was built around the turn of the century, or I don't. It was built in the 1800s or the early 1900s.
Mm-hmm.
The pipes in the bathroom are exposed copper. The rooms are very small, but there's so much wainscoting and carved plaster, and I was in seventh heaven there.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I was my interview at Time was they figured about 20 minutes. Well, it lasted 40 because I ramble.
Doesn't bother me.
Yeah.
Doesn't bother me.
I don't know. I think you can watch it if you go just Google me, and I think they might have that. It's Sunday morning, CBS Sunday morning interview with. Now, I can't think of his name. Edelston? No.
Yeah.
Is that him?
I don't know. Yeah. So you got another convention coming up in July, huh?
I haven't decided yet.
Okay.
But I haven't decided if I'm going or not.
You mentioned you traveled a lot. Do you have a favorite place you've been?
No. It's like when I mentioned a favorite movie, I have two that I could definitely say are my favorite. There's probably more. It's just on any subject. It's hard for me to point one that is my favorite. Like if somebody asked me what would be my favorite note, singing and stuff, and I would have to say a chord. Just a combination. Or favorite color, it'd have to be a rainbow.
Yeah.
It's just it's hard for me to pinpoint one.
Yep.
Because then I would be leaving out others that I think have as much importance to me.
No, I can see that. Well, you know what? It was wonderful having you on here today, and of course,
thank you, Greg. I've enjoyed it thoroughly.
Oh, same here.
I really have.
Yeah. Well,
You're very personable.
Yeah. Well, I like my guests. I like my guests to feel comfortable and come across as real, and I love to introduce new audiences to the people I interview, plus the films or music that they were involved in. And Psycho's gonna be 60 next year, and wow.
60. I know.
60.
I know. 60.
And I really backtracked your mind there, going way back.
Yes.
Well, I would have been 8 years old the year Hitchcock passed away, so it's interesting hearing about what he was like and people that have actually been right there. Yeah.
I hear now, after he passed away is when it really came up, saying, oh, well, he was forceful on me, or, sexually, whatever. And it just really gets me. Why didn't you say it when he was alive? for one thing. It's very convenient to talk bad about someone when they're passed.
Mm-hmm.
And, like it happens with a lot of directors that actors don't like, blah, blah, blah. You know, it could be like clash of personalities. How about that, for one thing? Or Hitchcock, who knew exactly what he wanted, and that was it. I mean, there's a lot of directors who leave everything up to the actor. Just, you go with it, impromptu, whatever, but that's their style. Each one is different. But to I hate it when people knock somebody after they've passed. It just, I don't like that at all. That's not cricket at all.
And you hear it a lot.
The person doesn't have a chance to defend themselves if they want to bother defending themselves.
Yep. Yep. No, you hear it a lot.
I just got on a soapbox just there.
Actually, you know what? I agree with you, too. I don't get into that kind of thing about these people because I don't know how much of that is true and how much and that's... Yeah. I know. Mm-hmm. Yeah. But I see your point, definitely. Mm-hmm. Yep. Well, I wanted to know, before I let you go, if I could get you to do a plug for my show.
Oh, good. Hi, this is Marli Peterson, Marli Renfro. Let me start again.
Sure.
Hi. Hi, this is Marli Renfro. I'm not famous, but I did something famous. I was Janet Leigh's acting double in the shower scene of Psycho. And I've just been interviewed by Gilbert on Python's Paradise out of New Brunswick, Canada. What a wonderful show. You'll enjoy it.
Thank you so much, Marli. And God bless you. Yeah, huh?
Was that okay?
That was fantastic. Okay. You're very professional sounding, too. Yeah. Well, God bless you, and thank you so much for coming on here. And, hopefully we'll see you for the 60th anniversary of Psycho next year.
Hey, let me have your address.
Well, you guys send me something?
Because I was... quite a few years ago, a fellow interviewed me, Anthony Petkovich, and his article appeared in Film Facts magazine, and it's 9 pages, and it's really a nice mini bio of me, and if you don't have it, I'll send you one.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, please.
Okay.
Sign it, too.
I'll do that. Oh, definitely.
Yeah. Oh, that'd be great. Yeah. Well, you have yourself a wonderful day, and thank you so much for the honor.
Well, thank you. I thoroughly enjoy it. It's always nice to go back and visit those times.
Absolutely.
Oh, and I just looked at the clock. Geez, we're almost 2 hours.
Yep. You're not my longest, though.
Time goes by when you're having fun.
I think so. I have fun doing this. This has been an honor.
Good. Thank you.
Yes, you have yourself a wonderful day.
I'll do it. You too, Greg.
Yep. Bye-bye.